Welcome back to the FM Garage. My name's Mike, and in today's episode, we're going to be talking about more interior upgrades. Kind of continuing on the theme from last week when we talked about some of the ND upgrades that you can do with the glove compartment, or center box, or whatever you want to call it. We're now going to focus on the NAs and NBs, because, you got to spread the love a little bit, right? So in this episode, what we're going to talk about specifically is fixing the droopy eyeball vents. And if you've ever owned an NA or NB Miata, you know that it's going to happen. Maybe you've got a cherry model right now, but just wait, give it a few more years or a few more miles, it's going to get a little droopy. Or if you've got a well-worn one like most of us do, you already know about it, unfortunately. Fortunately, there's a very easy, very simple, and very cheap modification that you can do these vents to kind of breathe a bit more life into them. And we're going to cover that today. So there are lots of other options that you can do. We'll talk about that more in just a little bit, but we're going to cover the easiest, cheapest, anybody could do this modification. You don't even have to really order parts in or do anything special. So let's go ahead and jump into it. If you have any questions about this, drop them in the comments below, and we'll try to answer those as we go along if they're relevant to the video. If we don't get to your comments, sorry, we'll answer them after the video has been posted, and we'll just post along underneath your comment to answer you. So this is what we're working with today. Some pretty simple, easy materials and tools. I have a few screwdrivers. I have a pick. These are nothing special. Most of them are from your local hazard fraught store. And I've got a pair of scissors and a little flashlight. So the only thing that you may not have on hand is this. This is adhesive-backed felt. And that's what we're going to use to fix our droopy eyeball vents. And nothing special, it's just your generic run-of-the-mill adhesive-backed felt. I bought this from a Joann store. I'm sure you can get it from, the Walmart, or you can get it from wherever, I'm sure. Look around. I think I paid a whopping $1.63 for this. So it's inexpensive, and really, you don't even need this much. So if you've got a few friends that need to do this mod as well, you can buy one of these and you can share it with like 100 of your closest friends. Literally, we're going to be using a piece that big to fix one vent. So what do we need to do to get started? Let's pull a vent out. So to do this, I'm going to start with just a couple of the screwdrivers. Actually, you only need one of them. Relatively small. Like a number 1, you might be able to get away with a number 2 Phillips. And on these vents, they're pretty easy to get out if you know what you're doing. I've done this a few different ways, and I used to feed wire in here and then run it back out the other side and yank on it to pull it, but there's actually an even easier way to do it that doesn't chance damaging the clips that are inside and holding these eyeball vents in place. I guess another thing I should show you before we take this out is to demonstrate what the eyeball vents do when they get droopy. This one's actually not too bad. This car has spent most of its life inside, so it's not terrible. But this vent is pretty loosey-goosey. You can move it all around, and if you drive over bumps, most commonly it's going to just flop down like that. On this vent over here, I've actually already performed the repair on this one, or modified it slightly, and it is much stiffer to push it around, and it'll stay in the position that you put it much more securely. It's very, very well stuck in place now. Not so hard that you can't push it around, but it does have a very firm movement to it, which is good, because you don't want this to be, blowing on your knees or your lap or wherever you want it to do on your hands to warm up your hands if you're driving in the cold, and then have it just fall down after you hit a bump. That's annoying, right? So the easy way to take one of these out, so that way we can fix that problem, get your flashlight so you can see what you're doing, and look down in here. You'll see that there is currently some felt that's lining the inside of this vent from the factory. That's actually what they use to provide a little bit of friction to hold the vents in place, and that felt gets worn off over time. So you can see, maybe just barely, if I can get it just right for you, that right there's a slot. And that felt is actually covering up the slot a little bit. But if you take your screwdriver and just push it through.
Back the flashlight up just a tiny bit.
Oh, am I blowing it out? Okay, sorry about that. Now you can probably see it better.
There we go. Thank you.
So I'll point to it again. There's that vent hole or slot. It's covered by the felt. I'm just going to take the end of the screwdriver and push it in there. And yeah, it is going to rip the felt. It's not going to hurt anything. It's not really doing anything. It's just canvassing over that gap. But then once you've got your screwdriver in there, you only have to get it in there just a little bit, just the tip, you know, and you twist your vent. This one is a little bit grumpy, actually. And if you push the screwdriver too far down in there, you'll actually hit other stuff. So there we go. Don't push it too far down. Now you can see it's popped out just like that. All I did was rotate it. I just used that screwdriver to rotate it. And now it comes right out. So all I did is that there are these slots, and hopefully you can see that on the camera. And those slots interface with little clips that are on the inside here. And it just catches. So all I did was I just rotated the slot out of the way of the clip, so that way the clip wasn't actually holding on to anything. Easy peasy. And this is true for all of the 4 vents in the dash. They all do the same movement. So now that we're back at our bench here, looking at your eyeball vent, nothing really special about it. It's really just 3 pieces of plastic sandwiched together. They've got a few little clips that hold them in place, that basically keeps them snapped together. And you can see that there's a little bit of that felt in there. Let's see if I can shine the flashlight again a little bit. There's that felt in there. It's all dirty. We'll wipe that down. So now the trick is, how do you get this apart? Now the easiest way that I've found to get it apart is to take a pick like this, and then you'll find there's 2 of these that have little clips or little snap-in attachment points. There's 2 others that just have the little hole, but there's not actually any kind of little retainer clip in them. And this may vary from NA to NB, so that I don't know, unfortunately. If you've got little snaps in all 4 of them, you'll have to do a little bit more work. But it's all the same thing. There's basically these little flaps, so that way it can, this interior piece can flex a little bit as the top cap that secures the eyeball in place flexes out of the way before snapping over these guys. So this one actually looks like it does have tabs across all 4. So this will give us more practice. What I'm going to do is find one of these slots here. See, this is where we push through that felt. Now I'm going to use my pick to kind of pry up a little bit towards the inside there. You can see I just use it just to pry it up enough to be able to get a smaller flat blade screwdriver pushed in there. And you can see as soon as I do that, it lifts this flap up. And you can see it's already starting to come loose. Now I'm going to take another flathead screwdriver and just give it a little bit of a pry if it needs it. This one actually came loose pretty easily. Okay, so now that we've got this one done, just carefully release it. You don't want to push this edge back in to reclip it because we've got more of them to do. So now come back to the next one over. Use your pick just to get started. Careful that you don't stab your thumb. Pry it under there like so. And again, use your other flat blade screwdriver and just kind of work the other side. There we go, just like that. So since this one actually has 4 tabs, I need to keep walking it around till I get the other ones loose, but you can see it's starting to come up. So we're almost there. Oh, that one popped out right away. So once you do 1 or 2, it's probably going to get quite a bit easier for you because you can get some more leverage on the other ones. There we go. So that one popped right out. Now we just have this ring and then the eyeball. So the eyeball isn't actually attached, it's literally just wedged in there and held in place between these two pieces of plastic and a little bit of felt. So your felt might be in good condition like this one. It's okay, it's worn, so it's missing a lot of its fuzzy stuff. But it's not bad. I've seen ones that are basically missing whole sections of felt and it's just plastic on plastic, and that doesn't do a great job. It's pretty terrible for holding the eyeball in place. So if yours is in okay condition like this one, what you can do is simply wipe it out, clean it up. It's likely that you've got a lot of dirt and dust and other stuff in here. So clean it out, use a little bit of a mild soapy water on a rag or something. It doesn't have to be anything special to clean it out. You can see it's a little bit filthy, and that would normally be blowing all over your face. So after you do that, what we're gonna do here to give us some more grip to hold this in place so it isn't so wobbly flexy is actually to add a little bit of our felt onto the inside of this guy. And same thing, this is probably dusty dirty, so wipe it off a little bit. This one's not terrible, so I'm just going to use the corner of my shirt here. There you go. And then we're going to take our little bitty piece of felt. So I just cut a sliver off of my sheet of felt here. And this is approximately 2 millimeters wide by 25-ish millimeters long. That's 1/8 of a freedom unit for all of us Americans out there by 1 freedom unit. And I'm going to cut this into 4 equal pieces. So cut it in half, cut it in half again. And I apologize, I know this is going to be a little bit fiddly to see on the camera because we're dealing with such little bitty pieces, but that's it, just little bitty pieces. So the reason why these are so small is because this felt is about 2 millimeters thick, a little less than 1/8 of an inch. And this felt in here is quite thin. So if we were to use the same big chunks of this thick felt here to try to make up that eyeball, or make the eyeball sit in there stiffly, it sure would, but then it'd never turn again. So you only need a little bit, just like the old phrase, a little dab will do ya, a little felt will hold ya. So since this is adhesive-backed felt, I'm going to grab it by the scruff a little bit and then peel off that backing. Helps if you got fingernails, so if you don't, use a pick or something. But see, on this guy, if I can do it here to show the camera, I'm going to have to put my fingers in the way, sorry guys. I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. There you go. I just applied it there to the very inside of that lip. So one, this is going to help because it's going to have better contact with the actual eyeball portion, about right here, throughout most of its rotation, but also having it on the inside makes it less visible from the outside, so it doesn't look like it's been modified or changed or anything. So I'm going to keep doing this, basically 90 degrees apart, all the way around here with these other 3 pieces. And it doesn't take a whole bunch of effort to stick them into place, because remember that this eyeball vent's going to be pushing on them. So even though it's just adhesive, it doesn't have to be glued, or you don't have to get crazy with how they're attached. It's going to be kind of a friction press fit. There's 3. And then last one. Let's see, need to put him on this side. There you go. Just like that. So now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, all spaced about 90 degrees apart. Little bitty guys, no big deal. After you've cleaned off all your pieces, you should probably do a better job than what I'm doing here, but this is just for educational purposes. Start assembling all three pieces again. Now with this ring that holds everything in place, it does have some little locating pin kind of things. There's actually a little ridge right here, and then you have the locking nub. If I spin it 90 degrees, it's only the locking nub on this particular one anyway. So on here, there's also little ridges and locking nubs. And in this case, this one actually has little locking pin nub receptacles on all four, so it doesn't really matter, but you do need to get the nubs lined up so that way they fit into place. And all I'm going to do here is just get them lined up and snap it all back in. There you go. So now your vent is back to normal, fully assembled, and it will be much stiffer. You may need to use the little piece on the back to kind of move it around a little bit at first, so that way you can get everything worked into its normal new house. There you go. So now, I mean, you can smack this guy around, bang it, drive it down the street, hit all the potholes. This guy's never going to move. And so it's already, you can tell it's pretty stiff to move, which is good because you want it to stay in one place. But this is why we only use just a little bit of felt. If you use, you know, big chunks of that, this thing, you'd never be able to move it. So that's it. That's all you have to do for $1.63 to fix your Droopy eyeball vents and get them back into easy to position and stay positioned functionality. Easy peasy, right? One of the questions we got about this, and this is maybe either a on top of modification or maybe an either or kind of modification, is that if you like to use those clip-on style air fresheners and put them in front of your vent, sometimes that's just heavy enough that it's going to make your eyeball droop. If you want to battle that a little bit, an easy thing is just to take a little coarse thread screw and your screwdriver, and we're going to use this screw as ballast. So on the back side of the vent, there's actually already a hole right there, and you just screw that screw in there a little bit, and then when you move it around, it is gonna limit motion if it sticks out a lot like this one, so you may want to choose a shorter screw. But adding that piece of metal on the back here will add a little bit of counterweight or ballast, so that way when you clip your air freshener into place, it will help to prevent it from just causing that front of the eyeball vent to sag all the time. So you can do this as an additional modification, or you can do it as just the screw by itself if you want. However you feel is a good way to do it. Just know that if you get a long one, it's going to limit the travel, because that does hang off the end if you get a long one. So that is it. Easy peasy. Let's go ahead, now that I've shown you how to do this on the cheap for basically less than $2 here, let's talk about the elephants in the room. So a lot of people are probably aware of the vents that you can swap into the Miata in place of these guys. And if you're not familiar with them, they look like this. So this particular vent, it opens with flappy doors, and it'll still rotate in place, but you can actually shut them off. So if you are driving along with a passenger and they don't want the air blowing on them, but you do, you can shut their vents off, and that way you get all the air conditioning or heat, whatever. So these just came out of a Mitsubishi Eclipse. There's also a, oh, I'm sorry, third gen, excuse me. If you shop for a Mitsubishi Eclipse vent and it doesn't look like this, it's the wrong generation. There's also a Jeep Commander, I think, that is similar to this, that slightly different shape and it fits a little bit differently. There are some modifications needed. As you can tell, like this one's been chopped, and there's also been a bracket removed on the inside. You probably can't see that since it's black, but there is a little bit of modification needed. So you certainly can do these vents if you want to completely remove the eyeball from your Miata's dash, and that's fine. If you want to do that, they're relatively cheap. A set of these guys, not modified, 20 bucks, 30 bucks, you know, if you go pull them from the salvage yard yourself, probably less than that. So there are other options out there, certainly, and to each their own. I think these are a great upgrade if you like the ability to shut off, because these ones you can't, even if you turn them down, there's still going to be air flowing through these vents, whereas these ones, you can pretty much shut them off completely. So a great option if you like that. We're not going to cover the modification and steps to do these here in this video, but just know that if you want to, there are other options out there. This is just a cheap, easy. You can go do this if you stop down at your local Hobby Lobby or whatever that has felt, sticky, adhesive-backed craft stuff. No big deal. I would also recommend that if you want to or need to replace the felt that's on the inside, if yours is all torn up or missing or whatever the case is, there is replacement felt. It's the really thin stuff that you can get online. I think that there's an eBay seller that sells it for like $7. You have to wait for it to get shipped out to you, of course, but you know, that's another pretty cheap investment if you're looking to do a refresh on your stock eyeball vents. So now that we're all fixed up here, it is as easy as popping it back into place. Make sure that you get your 2 grooves in the side of the body lined up to be horizontal, and it just gets pushed into place just like that. And then now both of your vents can move around, but they will stay in place. They won't get droopy, they won't fall down, all for a couple of dollars. So that's pretty much the simplest modification. Well, maybe, knock on wood, maybe not the simplest, I don't know. It's a super easy modification to do. If you just are looking to do a simple, easy thing to fix up your Miata, you've got a spare hour, you can do all 4, no big deal, with just a few tools. So it is a great thing if you've got an older car that needs a little bit of love, just to give it a little bit, breathe a little bit of life back into it. So let's go ahead and jump over to some questions if we've got anything. What do we have?
Someone's asking if Flyin Miata is considering offering a kit to either refresh or swap out.
Okay. So question is, do we have a kit, or are we planning to offer a kit? We do not currently have a kit. And actually, that's a good segue into one of the other questions we had gotten about 3D printed vents. Good suggestion. Thank you for suggesting that. I don't know if it's actually going to happen or not, but we have let our engineers, made them aware of it, so that way they can look into it. If there is a good design that would work out well for a 3D printed vent, maybe you'll see that in the future. Don't know. No promises for right now, but if you're looking to do some fix-up work for right now, I would stick with either cleaned up factory ones or maybe go to the Eclipse or to the Commander vents if you want the ones that have the flappy doors that shut off. Do we have any other questions? Okay. All right. So again, sorry if we didn't catch your comments. Sometimes they don't come through at the same time that we get the video actually rolling live. So we'll try to answer all the other comments if they come through while I'm talking down in the comment sections below. We'll post this on Facebook as well as on YouTube after this live video is ended. So if you'd like to, you can also check it out there. We'll keep it for future use. And I think that is pretty much it for this time around. So thanks for joining us in the shop. I appreciate your time and your attention. If you have any suggestions for what you'd like to see us talk about in a future video, also drop that down in the comment below. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And until next time, we will see you this time, actually 2 o'clock Mountain Time next Thursday. And remember, kids, stay in spool.